You've learned that silence is more than the absence of words. It's a warning. When you're quiet, it's not because you have nothing to say. It's because you've already said enough. And now you're watching, you're processing, you're calculating your next move. People mistake your silence for surrender, thinking they've won, thinking you've backed down, but they don't understand. Your quiet is the moment you reclaim your power. It's when you step out of the chaos and into clarity. And when a Sigma INFJ reaches that point, they stop playing by anyone else's rules. That's when you become unpredictable, untouchable, and far more dangerous than anyone realizes. Silence means you're observing everything. When you go quiet, people might assume you've checked out or lost interest, but the truth is you're more present than ever. You're watching how people move, how they speak, how their words don't always match their expressions. You catch the nervous glance, the hesitation before a lie, the shift in tone when the subject changes. While others rush to fill the air with noise, you sink into stillness and let the truth reveal itself. You don't just hear what's being said, you hear what's being avoided. You notice the patterns in behavior that no one else connects. And in that quiet, you're piecing together the bigger picture. By the time anyone realizes how much you've seen, it's already too late. You've gathered every detail you need. You detach emotionally to see clearly. Your silence isn't about shutting people out, it's about shutting out the noise. When emotions run high, it's easy for others to cloud your judgment, to pull you into their chaos, or to twist your perception. But when you go quiet, you create distance between their storm and your mind. You stop reacting and start observing. You strip away the pressure to respond in the moment, giving yourself space to think without their influence seeping in. The longer you're seated, the more space you have to think without their influence seeping in. In that calm, you can separate truth from manipulation, fact from drama. And once you see things for what they are, not what someone wants you to believe, you become impossible to sway. Your silence isn't weakness. It's your way of reclaiming control over your own mind. You're gathering power before acting. You understand that in certain moments, words can be wasted, but timing can change everything. When you go quiet, it's not hesitation, it's strategy. You're collecting facts, observing reactions, and letting people reveal more than they realize. Every second of your silence is an investment, storing up mental clarity and emotional strength. You're also conserving energy because you know a decisive move requires precision, not impulse. While others rush to respond, you bide your time, letting the situation unfold until the perfect moment arrives. And when it does, you act with a force that feels sudden to everyone else, but you've been preparing for it all along. Your quiet isn't inaction. It's the calm before a move they'll never see coming. You're done explaining yourself. There comes a point when you realize that no amount of words will make someone see you clearly if they're determined to misunderstand you. Your silence is the moment you stop handing out explanations like they're owed to anyone. You've spent enough time defending your intentions, clarifying your feelings, and proving your worth to people who were never listening in the first place. When you go quiet, it's not because you've run out of things to say, it's because you refuse to keep pouring energy into a black hole. You understand now that real understanding doesn't need convincing, so you let your silence be the answer. And for those who can't handle that, it's a reminder your validation isn't something they get to demand, it's something you choose to give, and you've chosen to give it to yourself instead. You let actions speak louder than words. Once you stop talking, every choice you make carries more weight. People may expect you to defend yourself, to explain your side, to keep engaging, but you don't. Instead, you let your behavior do the talking. You walk away from toxic situations without a dramatic exit. You cut ties without announcing it to the world. You change direction without asking for permission. And that's when people start paying attention, because silence paired with decisive action is impossible to ignore. It leaves no room for twisting your words or questioning your intent. Your actions are your truth, and they're unfiltered, unedited, and final. You've learned that while words can be debated, actions are undeniable, and yours always speak with clarity. Your quiet unsettles those who rely on control. Manipulators, narcissists, and power-hungry personalities depend on being able to read you, provoke you, or pull you into their game. They thrive on your reactions, whether it's anger, defense, or even compliance, because it tells them how to move next. But when you go silent, you cut off their supply. They can't predict your thoughts. They can't gauge if their tactics are working. They can't find a foothold in your mind. And that unknown drives them restless, even panicked, because control depends on predictability. Your stillness forces them into uncertainty, and uncertainty is where their power crumbles. That's why your silence is dangerous. It doesn't just protect you, it dismantles their grip without you ever lifting a finger. You're protecting your energy. You've learned the hard way that not everyone deserves access to your time, your thoughts, or your emotions. Some people take without giving, drain without caring, and leave you feeling hollow. Your silence is your shield. It's how you step back from the noise and chaos, refusing to be a constant source of fuel for those who never refill you. You don't argue with them. You don't try to fix them. You simply close the door and let the quiet rebuild what they tried to take. Because you know your strength isn't infinite and every ounce of it matters. By protecting your energy, you ensure that when you do speak, when you do act, it comes from a place of clarity and power, not depletion. You've already made your decision. By the time you go silent, the choice has been made in your mind. You're simply not announcing it yet. People may mistake your quiet for hesitation, but in reality, you're past the point of debating. You've weighed the options, considered the consequences, and accepted the outcome. Now, you're just waiting for the right moment to move. That's what makes your silence so dangerous. While others are still trying to figure out what you're thinking, you're already steps ahead, preparing for what comes next. And when you finally act, it feels sudden to them, but to you, it's been inevitable for a long time. Your quiet isn't indecision. It's the calm confidence of someone who knows exactly where they're going and doesn't need to announce the route. You disrupt the power dynamic. Manipulators survive on a steady diet of attention, reaction, and emotional engagement. They need you to respond, to argue, to defend yourself, because every interaction, even a negative one, keeps you in their game. But when you go silent, you starve them of that fuel. You remove the very thing they rely on to keep control over you. Without your reactions, their tactics start to fall flat. They can no longer steer the conversation or twist your words because you've taken away their leverage. And that's when the balance shifts. Your silence forces them to sit with their own discomfort while you reclaim your ground. It's not about punishing them, it's about freeing yourself. And once you take back that control, you're no longer someone they can manipulate. You become unpredictable. In silence, you remove the roadmap others use to navigate you. They can't guess your thoughts, they can't anticipate your reactions, and they can't prepare for your next move. That uncertainty forces them into a constant state of second guessing, and in that hesitation, you hold the advantage. Arguments can be countered, words can be twisted, but silence is untouchable. It gives nothing away and leaves everything to the imagination. And often what people imagine is far more intimidating than anything you could say out loud. Your unpredictability becomes a kind of quiet power, one that keeps others cautious around you. Because in a world where most people reveal their intentions too soon, you stand apart, calm, unreadable, and in complete control of the game. If you've ever been told your silence is weakness, remember this: it's often the strongest move you can make. Words can be dismissed, but silence makes people listen in ways they can't admit. It protects you, it unsettles those who try to control you, and it gives you the space to move on your own terms. Your quiet isn't the absence of power, it's the proof of it. So the next time you choose not to respond, know that you're doing more than staying silent. You're taking control. When was the last time your silence spoke louder than your words?